Hello everyone, and welcome to another speed paint. I thought it'd be fun this week to try drawing some fan art for the series community. I really love this series. My brother got me into it not too long ago. I think the first episode he showed me was pillows and blankets, and I just thought it was the funniest thing, so I went back through and started watching at the first series, and I've been addicted ever since. I really enjoy watching this series. I just find it so funny, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Abed is by far my favorite character in Community, so I thought it'd be fun to draw some fan art of him. I'm not sure why Abed's my favorite. I don't even get like half the references he makes, but I really like his personality, so I decided to draw him for my first Community fan art. I pretty quickly decided that I wanted to do the iconic "come with me if you don't want paint on your clothes" scene. I really like this episode, and this particular scene really made me laugh, so I thought it would be really fun to draw it. And it was really fun playing around with this drawing and trying to make it look like him. I generally don't draw in this realistic of a style. I know it's not realistic at all, but like if you've seen any of my other speed paints, you know that my style is like really cartoony. And this was a bit out of my comfort zone, but it was still really fun. At the beginning of this drawing, I was having a really hard time making this look like Abed, so I asked my brother, who introduced me to this series, for some advice on how to make him look more like Abed, and I think it really worked. After I made the changes he suggested, I think it started looking a lot more like Abed. After I had gotten his face to a point where I thought it looked decently recognizable as Abed, I moved on to his body and then his goggles. His goggles were pretty difficult to draw, especially because in my drawing I have him sort of at a different angle than he is in the reference photo that I'm using. And his forehead is also smaller since it's more stylized, so his goggles aren't as like facing downwards as they are in the reference photo. They're sort of tilted up, which made it a bit more difficult to draw because I couldn't use the reference as much, but I do think they ended up looking pretty good in the end. After I had finished the goggles, I added some coloring on his face. Rendering out his face was also pretty fun, and I think it started to make him look even more recognizable. After I finished drawing his head and goggles, I started drawing his clothes. His clothes were pretty hard to draw at first, especially because I'm drawing him at a different angle than is shown in the reference photo, so I had to go get some more reference to like see what the front of his outfit looked like. But other than that, it was really fun to draw his costume, and I thought it was pretty interesting looking. I did end up pretty much completely redrawing it from the costume that you can see on screen now. His collar just looked weird, and it was at a weird angle, like it looked like his outfit was tilted far too much to his right, and while he was like looking towards his left, so it was like a weird combination, so I changed it later. I really like the second sketch a lot better, especially because it also like makes his jacket look a lot bigger on him, like how it does in the episode. In the episode, like the jacket is obviously like very loose fitting on him, and I think my first sketch made it look a little too tight, or at least like made the material look a bit too bulky, so it didn't look like it was like loosely hanging on him like it is in the episode. So I think that the second sketch like more so gets that point across. After I finally finished his jacket, I moved on to his like sash where he has a bunch of paintballs. At first I made the canisters like way too brightly colored, and they really like drew your attention away from his face. So towards the end I dulled their colors, which I think looks a lot better, and it like makes you focus a lot more on Abed's face instead of like the paintball canisters. After that I was pretty much done drawing Abed, so I just looked around and fixed up a few things, added some touch-ups, like in places where the colors were missing I just went through and fixed it, or like fixed a few spots where the line art was wonky. After that I finally moved on to the background. The background was pretty difficult to draw. I tried multiple different strategies of drawing it and painting it, but in the end I just took the colors from my reference image and blocked them all out behind my drawing of Abed. After I had fully blocked out all the colors, I turned off the reference image and just polished it up, made it look like it was an actual background, and used some different types of brushes to add the splatter paints that were all over the background. At first I was pretty worried about how the background would look, but afterwards I sort of did the same thing that they had in the photo. I blurred the background so it would look how it did in the original photo that I was using as reference, and I think it looks pretty good that way. Before I blurred the background, I was having like, it looked really weird, like the depth perception of the piece was off and it was hard to tell like where Abed was standing, but after blurring it I think the depth perception looks pretty good and it's pretty clear. After that I was pretty much done with the whole piece. I was a bit conflicted about if I wanted to just end the piece right there, because as you can see it's pretty rough. I didn't do any line art, it's pretty much just a sketch, but I ended up deciding to keep it because I do like the rugged look it gives the whole piece, and I also think it fits the tone of the episode pretty well. And that was pretty much my entire process for this piece. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Goodbye!